Hello and good day. I am Mr. J, and it's very nice to present to you this class on communication. Communication, as we all know, is really one of the bedrocks and foundations of all good, healthy relationships. So I just wanted to give you a few tips and techniques on how to improve your communication. I always start my class with a corny dad joke, and today's is this. What do you call scared macaroni? You call scared macaroni fettuccine Alfredo. Ba-dum-bum. All right, if you want to take 2 healing breaths with me, in through the nose, out through the mouth. All right. I want to say this class is geared more towards those currently in relationships. However, if you're not currently in a relationship, my hope is that you can use some of these tools, tips, techniques with some people that you are close with in your inner circle. What is the most single important piece of communication advice that you could give somebody? Well, it's kind of tough because there's a lot of advice to sift through. However, I wanted to share with you a few key principles when speaking to partners or spouses or significant others, or like I said, anyone in your circle that this would apply to, or perhaps in your future. I wanted to share them with you. So, number one, I'll get right to it, is simply be vulnerable. Keeping in mind, we can all have, well, I won't get into that. I was going to give you the difference between secrets and privacy, but let me hold off on that. Vulnerability. Whenever you are sad, angry, scared, or lonely, share your feelings. Be specific about what you feel, why you think you feel that way. By doing so, you open up a door for genuine connection. It gives the person that you're speaking to an opportunity to step up and to be there for you and to get through something together. That's what makes a true partnership. And again, this could be really your best friend. I just got together with my friend the other day and had some tea, and we both spilled all of our juicy soul to one another, and it felt really good. And we were there for each other. We were vulnerable, and we were more connected than other. This is a very dear friend of mine. I don't do that with anybody. 2, step away from arguing about topics and get right to the issue. Many couples will argue about, who washed the dishes or who didn't wash the dishes or who forgot to pick up milk on the way home. But in reality, after speaking to them for a short time, I discovered that it's not about dishes or milk or anything in between. In fact, what one partner may be feeling is unloved or not prioritized. Because for many, there is discomfort in being vulnerable and sharing that we feel unloved. We tend to lash out because someone forgot to do something we asked them. So try and figure out exactly what the issue is and approach your partner, your spouse, or your friend, or whomever from that truth. I'm feeling this, or I'm feeling that, as opposed to, some other topic. Remember that little things mean a lot. Make sure you to say please and thank you, excuse me, smile at the simple times, such as when you're driving someplace together or just watching TV. You can touch each other's hand with a light touch, rub his or her back while doing a chore. Lastly, make it a point to go out of your way to compliment your partner or those around you who doesn't like a compliment on at least 2 things a day, if you can, if it's possible. And that can be on anything at all. Doesn't have to be anything big, anything they've done. It could be on your hair looks nice today. So often we get complacent in our relationships. So let's not forget that small things do mean a lot. Resist extremes. We have a tendency, especially when emotions are high, to use extremes, the always and the nevers. These terms are dangerous as they give little encouragement for our partners or whomever to want to change. Please, or phrases such as, you never think of me, or you always leave messes, they deflate us and leave little room for growth and love. So as tempted as we may be, let's try to stay away from these extreme phrases, always, never, things like that. Be aware of anything sarcastic. And man, this is a toughie for me because I was born and raised in a family where we all talk sarcastically to each other. That's just how we did it. And now I'm with somebody who's extremely sensitive and a words person. It's like, well, I can say something extremely sarcastic, and to me, it's funny. And, my spouse can be in the fetal position in bed for 2 days hurt. And, so this is a toughie for me. Anyways, phrases such as it must be nice to have no responsibility with yada yada yada, or can't you ever remember one simple request or one simple thing? These put downs are not only detrimental to our own mentality, but they drive a huge wedge in intimacy between couples, sorry. 5, always check your thoughts and your gas tank as well as your partner's gas tank. Check in with your feelings about your partner, or it could be your friend. It doesn't matter. Your neighbor if you're close to them, and get them to share theirs. Get into the habit of asking your partner or whomever, how full is your love tank, or how full is your worthy tank, or how full is whatever tank it is they have. Once you both have an answer, ask what each other can do to help fill that tank a little bit more. Now, let me just tell you something. Side note, some people have certain gas tanks with a 10-gallon capacity, while other people in their circle, whether it's a spouse, a neighbor, a friend, whatever, have a 2-gallon gas tank in that particular capacity. And so oftentimes what happens is the person you're with or your friend or whatever, they're emptying 100% of their gas tank into you because their intentions are good, but you're still running on fumes, even though they gave all they got. So you have to look at intentions, and teach people how you want to be loved and all that. So it's not a matter of just asking, how can I fill your gas tank? It's do they and do we have the capacity to have what we need to help fill their gas tank, and vice versa. Learn the art of apologizing, and Lord have mercy, is this a struggle for me? Just full disclosure, hands down. When you've said something rude or treated your partner or anyone badly, take notice and apologize genuinely and as quickly as possible. It's great to clarify the reason for your behavior. I hadn't eaten. I just read a depressing story. I had a terrible meeting with my boss, but not to excuse the behavior. For example, hey, honey, I'm sorry that I said A, B, and C, but I haven't eaten lunch or breakfast. I'm worried about my meeting tomorrow, and I was irritated and I took it out on you. Really take responsibility and ownership. Bonus points if you have children or parents living with you or anybody else, and you can model quick and genuine apologies in front of them. Chances are you're going to be snarky or rude to your partner or whomever in your circle on different occasions, especially in front of children. So why not be a role model for self-awareness and humility as often as possible too? And something, really apologizing, a lot of people, especially the way I was raised, apologizing to a lot of people is viewed as a weakness when really it's a strength, because you take ownership of something and you own your character, your words, your statements, your stances. So I was raised to view it as a weakness, but really it's a strength. 7, 3 quick techniques that I encourage people to try when they're having communication issues. Now, I do one of these with my son, actually, and I think it's very beneficial. It's called the open palm technique. So basically you sit there with your palms open. Hopefully you can see me, whatever. Basically your palms are up. And they did a study on this, and they said when your hands are up, your palms are up, there's a line that goes from your palm right to your heart. So if your hands and palms are open, so is your heart. And it allows you to have a heartfelt conversation with somebody. That's number 1. Number 2, it's the when you, I feel, I'd prefer technique. So this basically is a technique that you can use with anyone at any point. And what it does is it allows you to verbalize your needs, but also holds their defenses at bay, or really makes their defenses go down. So it's the when you, I feel, I prefer. So for instance, I'm just going to pick a name out there. Hey, Sally, when you walk in and you don't even acknowledge me, I feel insignificant. I'd prefer you walked in and at least said hi to me. So it's the when you, I feel, I'd prefer. And then there's the mirror technique. Sometimes, so many times, that made a lot of sense. Sometimes, so many times. Oftentimes, people are talking and they'll say, oh my God, like, am I speaking in another language? What are you not getting? Like, I feel like we're just doing this. Like, what are you not getting? And so you want to mirror what was said. So basically it's, okay, what I'm hearing you say is A, B, and C. Is that correct? And then the other person could say, yes, that is correct. However, blah, blah, blah. Or that's not correct. What I'm saying. So you're really pulling the reins back. You're slowing down the conversation and you're mirroring one another. As I always say, as long as you choose loving words, you can pretty much say whatever your heart desires. You have the right to say anything that you want. Just make sure that you don't have the right to be rude or dismissive or what have you. Now, very quick, I just want to add these things in. You always want to be doing these things in general. You don't want to listen to respond. You want to listen to understand. When somebody is done speaking, you want to acknowledge what they said, maybe even validate what they said, and maybe even ask permission to respond. Now, you're not asking permission to respond because you're a little boy and a little girl and you need mommy and daddy's permission. No, it's letting the other person know, I want to be invited to the communication table. So do you mind if I give a response right now? And of course, not interrupting. Now, if you live with somebody like me that likes to go on and on and on for 25 minutes when I talk, there are nice ways to, you can go, do you mind real quick, interrupt somebody. But for the most part, you really need to make it a point not to interrupt. Number 9, no scorekeeping. Oh my gosh, I deal with this all day long with couples. Unlike the popular phrase, marriage is 50-50, the reality is marriage is 100-100. Rarely, if ever, is the case where each partner is doing 50% of everything and vice versa. The reality is someone may be bringing in a little bit more money financially. Someone else may be a little cleaner and doing more housework. Somebody else might be taking on more of the childcare role. And somebody else might be more handy around the house. So bottom line, don't keep score. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who's blatantly lazy and not pulling their own weight. But I will say often that we don't see or care to make it a point to see what others are bringing to the table. We can only see and usually focus on what we're bringing to the table. Yesterday I took so-and-so here, and then I had to make a phone call, and then I had to make 2 appointments for this, and then I came home and cleaned the dishes. What did you do? Well, they probably did a lot, but it wasn't what you did. So, really look at, what other people did, not what they didn't do. Again, I'm not talking about lazy people or people that aren't carrying their own weight. Absolutely not. Also, healthy communication is couples or people that are thinking like a team. Teamwork really does make the marital dream work. People in successful relationships feel supported and assured that their partner will always be on their side. In a true relationship and partnership, when you're hurt, your partner's hurt, and a problem for one of you is a problem for both of you. Nobody should feel alone in their problems. Have we all felt alone in our marriage and our problems? 100%. But ideally, well, I can't speak for all of you, but I'd probably venture to say you have. That's just life in general. But really, the idea is to share your blessings and your burdens with the people in your life. The key here is not to allow problems to come between you. You have to learn to come together and attack issues rather than using issues to attack one another. A great way to begin this practice is to incorporate we instead of me. So, example, how are we going to deal with A, B, and C? Even if it's about the other person's family, how are we going to deal with yada, yada? Because it's more team-oriented conversation, more team-oriented phrase, more team-oriented statement. Always accentuate the positive and maybe sandwich your requests. If you have a request from your partner, or again, anyone around you, if you're a boss, if you coworker, neighbor, or your spouse, significant other, try to sandwich your request. For example, your spouse forgot to take out the trash again. You could maybe say something along the lines of, hey, yesterday I was so appreciative that you cleaned our window blinds. I did notice, however, that the trash didn't go out. Can we be sure that gets done today? By the way, those jeans that you're wearing, So basically, you're sandwiching your concern in between 2 positive things. 12, find a code word during times of high tension. One of the big things is couples don't know when to throw in the towel when emotions are high. And then what happens is we start speaking from anger. We start speaking from ego. We start speaking from frustration. And what do? Now I'm annoyed because you hurt me. Now my agenda is to hurt you. We're no longer in the land of compromise, negotiation, working things out in teamwork. Now it's like, oh, we're going toe to toe. It's on. So try to find a code word, and whoever says the code word has to be the one to come back and circle around to bring the conversation up again. So for example, let's just say your code word is purple unicorn. Okay. So, hey, honey, can you bring milk home from work? Okay. They come home after work, no milk. What if I if I said I'd give you $100 if you brought milk home, you'd bring home $100. So you just didn't prioritize me. Is that the case? No, it's not that. It's that. No, no, it is that, because 2 days ago you also didn't prioritize me, and then things get escalated. And what happens is, now it's name calling and it's going into the past and all this other stuff. Once somebody else, purple unicorn, immediately each other says, okay, I love you, and walks away. That's it. No other thing is said. But whoever says that code word has to come back in a little while, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, and say, listen, I was a little heated. I had to say the code word. I thought about it. I apologize, yada, yada. So using a code word is beneficial, because people don't know when to stop, and then you say things that are lifelong hurtful. In general, we should always be listening, like I said before, to understand, not to respond. We should be acknowledging what our person says, validating, and again saying, do you mind if I respond? And it's not asking, oh, Mr. or Mrs., can I talk now? No, it's okay, I heard your point, and you make a good point. You really do make a good point. I guess where I'm coming from, if you don't mind, can I respond? Sure. Okay, I guess where I'm coming from is, my thought is A, B, and C. It just makes the conversation more going and flowing, and both of you feel like you're invited to the conversation table. Okay, another communication tip I want to talk about, besides the palms up, is the back-to-back. This is one of my favorites. So I usually do this with couples when couples have disagreements. Again, you can do this with anyone in your close circle, but what I do is I have them stand up and I have them stand back to back. So their backs are touching, and I have them work out a problem they have. So let's say the problem is, I don't know, there's one parking space in the garage and both of them want it. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to speak their voice. They're going to get their voice heard. I think I need the parking garage. I need the parking space in the garage because I leave at 6:30 for work. And if I'm running late, I can't run down the street to wherever the car is parked and whatever. And the other one would say, well, I understand that, but we have a sick child. And if something happens and I need to run to the emergency room, I don't want to have to take our sick child. So, but the bottom line is, what the most important thing is that you're going to work this out. You're going to work this out. But most importantly, the whole time you feel that you have each other's back. No matter what you say, how we work this out, at the end of the day, we got each other's back. So I like this back-to-back thing. Another thing is to hold hands when conversing. It's very hard to start name calling and getting upset when you're holding somebody's hand. It puts you in a, lovingly vulnerable position. And another thing that I have people do is to sit face to face. And it doesn't matter if your knees are touching. It doesn't matter if you're across the room. Sit face to face, but wear blinders. And the reason this helps is because A, it helps the person talking to feel vulnerable, because sometimes when you're getting stared in the eye, it's hard to be vulnerable. But it also lets the other person, or both people, like if anybody has a problem with facial gestures, like how many times are we talking to somebody and while they're talking to us, we're going, we don't want to see that, because that just puts us in rage mode. So if we have blinders on, we can't see those and we can just freely speak what's on our mind. Okay. Lastly, I just want to say the majority of couples do not have communication problems. What they have is effective communication problems. Just like anything and everything else, you need to learn the effective way that you and your partner communicates best. When you are involved with anyone, I don't care if it's a friend, a partner, a neighbor, a boss, you have to almost learn a different language. Everybody brings to the table their love language, their attachment style, their examples from childhood of how they talked. So you don't have communication issues. If you can say hello, you know how to communicate. What we have is effective communication issues, because everybody has to learn what is the most effective way you like to be talked to. And let me share with you and teach you the most effective way that I would like to be spoken to.